Welcome back to Bless Your Heart. I'm talking. This is your host, Zeta. Thanks for joining me once again. And on this week's show, we're going to talk about things that I don't take for granted anymore. And I think that if you have ever been in a situation where you were pinching pennies, especially for a longer amount of time than usual, then you realize how some simple things, how important they are. I mean, you can live without them, but what a difference they make. And, if you're a longtime listener, you know this. If you're not, then I'll give you a little life update. But I am a mom of four. I was a single mom primarily while raising my kids. I got divorced when my kids were 10, not even 10, 8-ish. Okay, yeah, 10. The other one might have been 10. 8, 10, newborn, and 2, somewhere around there. And so I had to raise them by myself, and I made the decision not to marry or live with another person until my kids were grown. And that is exactly what I did. So you hear me talking about this long-time relationship with Rick, my significant other now, and we have been together about 13 years, but we just moved in together 3 years ago because that's when my last kid moved out, and my youngest child was 17, so we felt like it was time. My kids were grown. He didn't need to do with raising. He raised his own daughter. He felt the same way. So that is where we are. So during that time, I was very much a single mom. And so, when you're a single mom, you learn to go without some things. And, or even if you're not a single mom, you're just on a single income, it can go that way as well. And so obviously, you have to, once you start getting to the point, and I actually got to the point after a few years of being a single parent where I could afford a lot of these things on my own. But I went through some slim years. I had to take a pretty big pay cut once I became a single parent because I needed to be home more, and that requires less money at work. So I had to get real creative. And so one day I'm just sitting here thinking I should be more grateful of things. And I'm going to tell y'all, every time I think about things to be grateful for, like how far I've come, the thing that pops in my head is freaking paper towels. Okay? I love me some paper towels. And I know that some of y'all are not going to like to hear this from me. And I realize that I have a hippie background and, save the trees. I love paper towels, y'all. I can't give them up. I love them because I went so long without them. And yes, you can have a rag and you can wash everything with a rag and all that goodness and all that good stuff. But I'm going to tell you, there's nothing easier than a freaking paper towel. And you will pry paper towels from my cold, dead hands when I die because I love them. All right? They're so much easier to deal with. And I could not afford them for years. That was a luxury that I could not afford. So I feel like I did all my saving the planet during those years because I couldn't afford anything, okay? And I went years without a damn paper towel. And now I make sure I never run out of them. One of the other things, socks. New socks. New socks are a luxury when you're a single parent because if somebody needs socks, then it's the kids are getting them. New underwear, kids are getting them. Socks and underwear, just bras, new bras. I thankfully worked at a lingerie shop, so I had a ton of bras and panties, and I was in a good spot. But those are like the pretty ones. They didn't sell a lot of the like little great comfy, ones, or our good pair of period panties, because girls, And man, breaking out. It's like now if I were to go out right now and buy a pack of socks and a pack of underwear, let's say a 10-pack of socks, because that's about average, and like a 5-pack of underwear for myself, just basic Walmart, we're talking, okay? That's like $40. So if I need it and my 4 kids need it, that was my whole spending money for the month. That's freaking crazy. So and that's not something you want to buy at a resale shop, You got to get creative. So I'll tell you what I did. I started only buying the one kind of sock, and it was the sock that they sold at Target. And at the time when I started buying them, they were 79 cents a pair. Now they're up to like $1.99. But 15 years ago, they were like 79 cents a pair. And they're the socks that they sell in individual packets, like by themselves, or you can get a multi-pack. And it's like, they're just like little anklet socks, okay? And they come in all different colors, or you can buy black, you can buy white, or you can buy gray. Basic thin ankle socks, okay? Everybody in the damn family had to wear the same sock. I would just buy one multi-pack and everybody got new socks when I bought that multi-pack. And that's what you're going to wear because we all had the same size foot-ish for a few years where we could fit into it. And I'm going to tell you, that was the only sock I bought. Now, they still got their own underwear. But socks, come on. And I'm going to tell you what else I had to do. Because if you ever tried to keep up with socks with 4 children, it's worse than the silverware epidemic. It was insane. Y'all, I could never find socks. How do I buy so many socks? And there's never socks. So what I did was, instead of people when they're done with their socks, no matter who, if I found a sock in the house, if there was a sock to be found, it went into the basket. Okay, there were 2 baskets. There was the in basket, the out basket. Okay, the in meant there's all dirty socks. Socks got washed together, one big load of dirty socks. Okay, and then when you were done with them, you just dump them right back into the out basket. And when you're ready for a sock, because they're all the same socks, I'd buy black, white, or gray. So there was always some black, white, or gray of the same brand sock. They'd be in that pile. And worst case scenario, you can't find matching socks that day and you're going to have to wear long jeans. Like, that's where we were. Don't judge me, y'all. Single parent life of 4. Fabric softener. OxyClean and fabric softener. OxyClean is life-changing when you have kids. OxyClean is also expensive AF if you have kids and no husband. And fabric softener, yeah, that was a luxury out of our reach. So our clothes were not soft, y'all. Our clothes were not soft. I mean, we did the best we could do with what we could do, but we never had that fresh fabric softener glow. And yes, don't tell me how it's actually bad for your clothes. I know. I don't care. I like it. And now I buy it. And it's in all my clothes. And they smell wonderful. And they are soft. The other thing, chicken. Buying chicken. I really like chicken. We could not afford it. And it was expensive compared to ground beef, especially if you're getting like the 80-20 ground beef. That's affordable. I could buy like a multi-pack, or I could go to, we lived in Red Oak for a while, which is a little town just north of us, and Red Oak has a small grocery store called Brookshire's, and they would do these multi-packs where it would be like a weekly grocery thing, and it would be a little bit of chicken, a little bit of beef, and a little bit of like pork chops or whatever. And if they had a good selection of that, it was much cheaper than if you bought it individually. If I was able to catch a good one of those, I'd get those and we would have a variety. Otherwise, we were eating a lot of freaking ground beef, y'all. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not even a big fan of ground beef. I was looking good in my 30s because I could not afford to eat, or I didn't like what I could afford to eat, basically. Now I'm a little chunky, okay? Because I'm eating good, all right? But chicken was one of those things. We would have chicken about once every 2 weeks. That's what we could afford. Steak, fucking forget about it. That was not happening. We were never having steak. We were going to, unless I was like on a date. The men would take good care of me as far as if I was dating somebody, I'd always get a nice meal, whatever the case is. My kids didn't care about steak necessarily, as long as I could provide for them what they wanted. I got real creative, okay? We had a lot of sausage. I'm going to tell you, all those years I was never on government assistance. If you need it, you need it. I 100% understand. But I always made enough money I could pay my bills. That just meant there was nothing left at the end of the month. It was just, scraping by. Rugs and artwork. And I've told this story many times. But when I was married and we were always broke, and we were a 2-income household, don't even ask me, and we were always broke, we never could afford to decorate. Everything in the house was leftovers. Everything was something somebody gave me, or I found it like a garage sale. And I mean everything. We bought one new piece of furniture our entire marriage, a couch. One. Okay. And that was it. And I bought that. And I bought that before we got married. So technically, no, we did not. We never bought anything new because we did not have the money. Everything was a hand-me-down. We certainly weren't going and buying artwork for our walls. And my mom would come over and get pissed. She was very old school. A man takes care of a woman. And the fact that I couldn't make my home a home the way I wanted my home to be a home, my mom had a freaking problem with that. And one of my biggest regrets in life is that she died before she could even really see me do that, because she was sick the last few years of her life. So I would go to her and she never got to come to my house and see my home. I'd show her pictures, but she never got to walk into one of my homes that she would have been proud of. And that's crazy because I keep a very nice home and I love to decorate and I have beautiful things. And I'm going to tell you, when I got divorced, it was like one of the things on my like things I have to do now list. And on that list was make your home your way. And I understand that when you're broke, you can only do so much, and that's why. So I'm not judging anyone in those in that boat. I was in that boat. Your priority is feeding those kids, obviously, and I might have to find it at a garage sale still, but I didn't buy it because I just needed something because I had nothing. I bought it because it worked well with something I already had. I liked it, and that's the difference. And that I was able to curate it and make it what I like. And when I did get back on my feet and I did get to where I was more comfortable, I already had found so many wonderful things that even whenever, and decorated my home to a home, that even when I had more money, I didn't even really need to buy anything else because I loved everything in my home just as it was that I had found for a good deal. But I had prioritized everybody and my ex-husband over me to where I was neglecting myself. And I do believe that making a home your home is neglecting yourself if you can't do that. Especially if it's something you like, that you're raised to do and you're drawn to do. I know that's not for everybody, but it was important to me. And I was really happy I got through that, I guess. The other thing is social media usage. I don't take for granted the availability of it. But I also realize that there's too much of it. And so I try to keep that in check. But the usage as being able to use it as a means to, let's say, get furniture. So whenever I was in that situation where I couldn't afford stuff, when I got divorced, I did get everything furniture wise because I had paid for it all. But I did not want anything to do with my old life. And so I kept the things that I had inherited, and everything else I replaced one by one. And I gave all my stuff to a friend of mine that was leaving a domestic situation and had nothing. So I would just get her something and find myself something else. And so Facebook Marketplace, man, came in clutch for that kind of stuff. And I think that is, that's a benefit of it. There's some cons to that as well, as we all know. But it definitely helped for things like that, like things that you need before we had the internet, you couldn't, good luck. If you wanted to use sofa, good luck finding one. Do y'all remember back then? I mean, even if you found one in the paper, there wouldn't be a picture. It'd be like sofa love seat, $200, Lover Lane area. And you're like, okay, I guess I'll go get this. Or it'd be like tan sofa love seat, mild usage. What is that? What do you mean? Tell me more. I need to, there's no picture. So now there's a way to get around that. Lawnmowers, whatever the case is. Another thing is making a list. Y'all, I don't take for granted lists these days. I'm going to tell you, it took me a long time to figure out I need to be making lists for myself. And this whole ADHD conversation we've had many times before, where I'm positive I'm there. I find that when I make a list, I get things done. And if I don't, I get one thing done. I'm a doer. Like, I'm going to work all day. I'm just also easy to sidetrack. I'm going to, oh, let me put this away. Oh, I should just mop this real quick before I walk across this floor to put this here. You know what I'm saying? Making a list. Another thing, washer and dryer. I've been in the boat where I didn't have a washer and dryer, and we had an apartment before we were married, and you had to go and do your laundry in at the laundry place in the apartments, or you'd have to drive somewhere. And, do you want to leave your clothes in there and risk? Typically, the clothes you're wearing are the ones you need. Like, it's your work clothes. It's the ones you wear. That you're washing. Those are the ones that you have to worry about. So I was always so scared to leave my clothes and go back to my apartment. And my mom had lived in apartments at the time a little bit because she was going through a divorce. And so she was like, oh, I always leave mine. It's never a problem. It's never a problem. And then it was. One day they stole it. So I was scared to death. Mops. Okay, so when I was growing up, my mom was a cleanaholic. Like, she kept a very clean home. All right. And every Saturday morning we'd have to get up. we all had chores, and one of my chores one of them, not the only one of my chores every Saturday morning was I had to walk the house and wash any walls that need to be washed. So if anybody had put their hand on a wall, or if there was dust on a wall, which there never was because it never was allowed to get to that point, but I'm looking for any imperfections on the wall, and I would have to go around the house and wipe down the walls. Now, granted, there were quite a few kids in that house, so I could see that there were little handprints. And I'm going to tell you, when I was raising kids, I now understood it. I understood it. These little grubby hands touch everything. But every Saturday, I had to walk that house, and I had to wash those walls. And mops. My mom would mop with a towel. She had like 2 or 3 towels that she kept they were like old towels that she kept just for mopping. She did not like using a mop. She did not believe mops did a good enough job. She preferred the old school. So she would get down on her hands and knees, and she would typically take one of those 2 mops and fold it and use it as like knee protection. And then she would take the other two rags. One of them was like back up for once she made the other one too dirty. So she'd take that other one and she would get it in, mop water. And she would go around on her hands and knees and wash the entire house's floor that wasn't carpeted on her hands and knees with a towel. And that's how I learned to mop. And that is how I mopped until I bought my first mop. When I moved out of my ex-husband, I moved in on my own, and I went out and bought a mop, and I didn't like it, and I kept using the towel because I agreed they weren't as nearly as good. Now I disagree. Now I have an O-seater, and I love it. Now I have 2 O-seaters, thanks to one of our listeners, and one of which I keep at the cabin. And it's awesome. But I'm going to tell you, as a single parent, when I was struggling, I definitely couldn't have afforded an O-seater, and I would have been stuck with that $5 mop from the dollar store that does a half-ass job. And money does make a difference and I know they say money can't buy happiness, but it can buy you a effing O-seater, all right? And that's close. That's real close. That's what I'm saying. Go O-seater. Sponsor me. The other one is cameras on phones, because I don't feel like I have nearly enough pictures of my older kids, because we didn't really start using cell phones a lot until they were a little older. And so I missed a lot of those little years that I could have gotten a bunch of great pictures because, cameras weren't as handy. And then the same with mine. There's very few childhood pictures of me because we didn't have cameras handy. We couldn't afford them. And I would like to have more pictures of life events that I just don't have, or like best friends of mine, like best friends I hung out with all the time that have now passed away, and I do not have a single picture of them. And because it wasn't easy access to the cameras. Mixed cotton. Y'all think I'm kidding? But mixed cotton, because do y'all remember the 70s when your cotton was really not stretchy, or even the 80s? Remember before cotton was stretchy and before they started putting rayon and polyester in your cotton, and it was just going to be straight up cotton? And I know that sounds wonderful. Oh, it's 100% cotton. It's not the good cotton, y'all. It's the kind that does not stretch. It's stiff. I cannot stand it. You ever worn stiff pajamas to bed? It's no bueno. And with that kind of cotton, if you did something with it, stretched it somehow, it never went back. It would lose its entire shape. It would never go back to what it was. It wouldn't breathe good, so you'd sweat more. It was horrible, y'all. People forget about freaking plain cotton and polyester blends. So now the polyester blends, they figured out how to make these where they breathe, they're not stiff, they feel good, they look good. Polyester in the 70s, 80s, it was a rough ride, okay? If you ever had to put on some polyester, you know what the freak I'm talking about. You are burning up. It was hot. It didn't breathe. It smelled. And it made you sweat more. But then once it got sweated in, it never released the smell. So it would absorb the BO, and you never could wash it out. Maybe if they had OxyClean clean by then, I don't know. But it was horrible. And when my very first job, real job, I actually clocked in and out, and I wasn't doing side work, babysitting or barbecue stand I worked at, whatever, but job. It was at a grocery store, and Minyard's Groceries. And I had friends that worked there, so they, I got a job there. And their uniform were these polyester uniforms. And y'all remember those grocery store outfits that were Like for the women, the cashiers, it was like a two. I don't even remember what the men were wearing, to be honest with you. But with the women, it was horrible. And it would be like a two-piece, and it would be like polyester pants. Like these were forest green that we had to wear, but you'd see them in every grocery store. And I'm talking old school polyester, think 1970s. This was 1990, but somebody designed this shit in the 70s, there's no doubt. Damn near bell bottoms, okay? Polyester pants. And then they had like you could call it a shirt, but it's made of that old school hot polyester, and it zipped up the front, and then it had like a panel in the front that was like maybe tan stripes. I don't know. And the rest of it was that same army green or, dark green, forest green, and then your name badge. It was hideous. And that was the only reason I waited so long to apply for a job there. And finally they talked me into it, and I go in for my first day, and they're like, hey, uniform's changing this week. Good for you. Jeans, white polo, whatever shoes you want, green apron. I was saved from the polyester gods. Do you know how hot that would have been? And why were they doing that to people in 1990? That's crazy. It was out of style even then. But also, they had better polyesters by then. I mean, not great, but better than that BS. A good bowl or a good mug. You know what I'm talking about? So a good mug. I collect mugs. I love funny mugs. I like to buy mugs when I go places. I have a lot of mugs, okay? But you always have that one favorite. So I have been drinking out of the same mugs that my mom gave me before she died for years. I've been drinking out of these mugs for years and years and years. So even though I keep buying mugs, I keep using the same mugs. Well, I'm down to one. I'm down to one that's not broken. So I can't use it anymore because I'm fearful it will be gone forever. So it's been moved onto the decorating shelf, and I've had to move on to the next mug. So I had to try out a few mugs to find my perfect mug. And I came to a blue bonnet mug that my daughter-in-law had given me, and I love it, and I use it all the time. And that's become my new mug, even though I have 5,000 other mugs. And again, if you have been super poor, you typically don't have great souvenir mugs because you can't afford to go anywhere, or you don't have a bunch of great mugs. The other thing is bowls. Rick likes a good 99-cent plastic bowl from Walmart. That's his go-to. If he's going to get some cereal, he's going in there, he's breaking out that 99-cent plastic bowl. That is absolutely the last bowl on earth I want to eat from. Okay? I love a good, thick glass bowl. I want it to be deep, not like a little salad bowl, but I want this to be like a deep soup bowl. Okay, so Fiesta makes one like that, and I collect Fiestaware. And I have their salad bowls too, and those are nice for a salad. But if I'm going to eat something and it's going to be soupy, it needs to be in a soupy type thick bowl. Okay, so that's my go-to. So when Rick and I had been dating 2 or 3 years, for Christmas one year, I gave him a bunch of stuff, and I was like, I'm going to give him one of these great, because every time I went over there, I was eating cereal, and it's always out of these shitty bowls, and he loves cereal, y'all. And so I bought him for Christmas that year, a bag full of different cereals. I think I got him 7 different boxes of cereals, and then I got him my favorite bowl in a basic white, because he doesn't like color. And it's such a great bowl. Can I tell you, he never used it? Not one time. He did not enjoy my bowl. I took that shit back. I was pissed off. And I took it. It's if you're not going to use this, I will. You don't know the value of a good bowl. Because I've gone without. He has too, but he didn't develop a liking, I guess. Good cookware. Good cookware. Whew. Good cookware makes a huge, huge difference. And good pots and pans in general, any kind of cookware. Even just having enough big spoons or the right kind of spatula for your cookware, because that's important. And it makes a difference how you're cooking. If you have shitty cookware, then you're going to burn some shit. All right? I'm sorry, but there is a difference. I mean, yeah, you can work with a lot of them. There's some you just can't work with. If you're having to go to the 99-cent store to get yourself a skillet, things that it might not stick for 2 days, but then that shit just wears right off, and the next thing you know, your eggs are attached to some kind of weird chemical, and it's leaving a little black stain on your food. All right, good cookware is so important. And I have been in that boat where you're just I got one good pan, and I'm going to use this for everything. You're planning your meals around the type of cookware you have. That's where it gets. I will say I do think it's good to struggle, and I think it's good to need things like this, little fun things. That none of these things are really important, but does all of them make a difference in your mental health and how you feel and how your home feels to your children and yourself? And when you go home, you get to relax instead of struggling just because you don't have a paper towel and you didn't wash all your towels that you typically wipe down at the counter because you were working 2 shifts because you don't have any money. So now you need to wipe down your counter and you don't have a single washcloth washed and dried. So how are you going to wipe down your counter? You're going to go find one of those missing socks? It's for real. Those little things are annoying, and they add up. Another thing to not take for granted, and this could be controversial, but is in-laws. Good in-laws are in-laws that like you, because I am in a boat where, one of my in-laws does not care for me, and it's created a situation where we can't always do family things that I would like to do and that I had envisioned myself doing. And I have been married before. My ex-in-laws really cared for me and treated me very well. So it's weird for me not to have that. It really was like life-altering not to have that, to be honest with you. I mean, we dealt with it. We've created our own way of doing things and everything, but that's something I learned that you don't take advantage of, because if you've ever had a good one and then you don't, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with her. It's just that, we don't have a good relationship. And it makes a difference in your life and all that good stuff, and so I started thinking about other things that like taking for granted. And so on a serious note, mental health, good mental health. If you're in a situation where you're not happy, nothing's ever going to make you happy. Like if one big boulder is in the way, whether it be a bad marriage, whether it be a mental health issue like an eating disorder or an alcoholism in the family, and you're having to deal with that. Whatever the case is, until you deal with those things, all these other things aren't going to make you happy. You can have all the paper towels in the world if you don't have good mental health. It's not going to make you happy. And so it's always a good idea to put the priority on taking care of yourself. And without money, you can't afford therapy. And I have never been through therapy. I probably should. But I have had to make sure that my kids are in therapy because of some situations with, just going through a divorce and that kind of stuff. But also because 2 of my kids are autistic, and, it kind of goes hand in hand that you need to see a therapist when you are dealing with some of those issues. And you have to have money to do that. And when I was struggling, that was often why I couldn't afford some of the things that I wanted to do and I wanted to buy and I needed, in my opinion, because I was having to pay for my kids to see a therapist, because that was more important than those paper towels and those brand new socks and brand name shoes and, all those kind of things. I was spending more on therapy for my kids every month than I was spending on my car payment and my car insurance combined. And it was worth it. It was totally necessary. You got to do what you got to do. And there should always be a priority on that. And so, I just been thinking about it. And I think it's a good idea right now in everything going on in the world that we really start thinking about the things that we're thankful for and that we don't take for granted. And I just thought these were some really little simple things that I don't take for granted and that I'm thankful for. And I think it'd be a good idea for all of us to sit down and write some things down. And maybe not such chill things, like such easy things, but there's bigger things. It could be, health and, whatever the case is. But there's a lot of things to be thankful for. And I think the media is telling us everything but that. I think that social media is our biggest downfall. I think it's absolutely ruining this country. And I think we're not living the same realities, as a friend of mine put it. And I'm not going to go into depth with it, but I think based on what social media algorithm that you are on, no matter which one it is, we're not all living the same realities because we have different things being shoved down our throats. And I think it's a really good idea that if you're really struggling right now with all this, that you unplug. And when you're ready to replug, that you change your algorithm and there's nothing you can do to fix these things right now, right? Nothing. But what you can do is fix what you're inhaling in your body. And so I think it would be a good idea to try to change that. and try to change your algorithm, you've got to speak good things into it. You've got to speak kittens and paper towels and good smelling candles and, a hyper focus of some kind. Tablescaping, because I've been on my tablescaping thing. The genealogy thing. I've found myself that when I'm tempted to go onto social media, to instead go onto the genealogy thing and just dig a little bit deeper and go a little bit further. And whatever it is that you want to do, organizing your house, cleaning your house, sorting through things that you've been putting off. We're doom scrolling and doom scrolling and doom scrolling, and we are missing out on real life to absorb things that aren't really real. And I mean, there might be hints of truth on there, but we're not getting the straight story from anybody, but we're absorbing all these things and we're absorbing them, and it's creating so much tension and hate. And and this last week, there's families that have unfriended and stopped talking and hate each other and sent nasty messages. And, there's just so much going on. And it's time to unplug. And if that means not listening to me, it means that. But it means live reality, okay? Live your reality. And your reality are those people at the other end of that internet that you have real life relationships with. Who cares about that girl you were in second grade class with who's spewing things that are unnecessary your direction when you have a kid downstairs that would much rather have a conversation, or you have, a spouse that would, you could take a little walk with that evening instead of doom scrolling. You could be going for a walk, or, you could all be going to get ice cream, or you could all be doing lawn work together, or you could be playing a game together. What I'm saying is we can turn it off. And I don't think it's a bad idea to turn it off. And I don't think it's a bad idea to break out some books and read some books, okay? And I think that right now the world's gotten really heavy for people. And it breaks my heart to see so many people struggling and to see so many families being torn apart right now. And I just don't think we're all getting the same news. And it makes sense why everyone's so passionate on their side, because everybody has a different version of the story being told to them. Everybody. And the truth is somewhere in the middle. And unfortunately, nobody wants to believe that. Everybody is just, you can find any news outlet to agree with you, at the touch of a finger, And I think it's time to turn it off. I think the way we can take our power back from the media is to turn the media off. And that's my 2 cents on that matter. And I guess so. We'll have another show next week. And I'm going to try real hard to get Al to do a show with me. I keep saying I'm going to do that. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast, but I have yet to even ask him, because once I see him, I forget about it. Oh, I do want to tell you about a really funny joke I'm playing on now. I'm going to end this on a better note. But he doesn't listen to the show because he doesn't, he's kind of a busy guy. And this is a girl's show, he says. Okay, so Tess and Shelly are 2 regulars at Al's. He jokes that Tess came with the bar. And Tess just likes to go. She has her own table there, okay? It's her regular table. And above the table is, Tess and Shelly are married. And above they met at Al's, actually. And above the table is like a clock with their picture on it, because that's their table. Okay, it's like the norm of Owls. Okay, so love Tess and Shelly, and they're good friends of mine. And so we have a joke, because when you walk into Al's bar and restaurant, there's like a corridor that you open up to, and and before you actually get into the restaurant part, and in there, a foyer, I guess, is a ton of pictures of him with all these famous people, because, he knows a bunch of famous people. So, or he's met a bunch of famous people. So he's got like him and Jennifer Lopez, and him and Obama. Like, it's all kinds of people. It's just, there's so many people on that wall. Vanilla Ice, MC Hammer, just Madonna, all kinds of people. And so there's no pictures of us, okay? And we have been teasing him, much like me wanting the sandwich named after me. Tess does have a burrito named after her, by the way. She didn't even like burritos, but she's gotten one. No, a taco, sorry. Tess's taco. Y'all, Tess isn't, no. Okay, anyways. So we decided we wanted this picture of us put up there. So we decided that we are going to make our own picture to put up there. So Tess and Shelly and I took a picture at Al's bar in front of one of his Blake Shelton cutouts. And then I took a picture of Al off his Facebook and I photoshopped it onto that picture. And I just happened to find the perfect picture of Al where he's pointing at something. And so I think it's the machine he used for his cancer treatment, to be honest with you. But he's like pointing at it, making this all happy face. Like he's so excited to see this machine. And so I took that one and photoshopped it badly on purpose. Had to get Zaylee's help. Badly photoshopped it in person. So it looks like he's pointing at us and he's all excited. And I got it printed. And I bought a frame. And I've gone up there twice now to install it secretly and see how long it takes him to notice. But he's been there both times, and it was hard to get out of his eyesight long enough to do it. But I am on Operation 8x10, and it's on. I will be posting a picture and excluding Al very soon so y'all can enjoy it. And that's it. That's all we got for y'all today. Please like, share, follow. If you could leave a review on Apple, that'd be great. It is obviously available on Apple. And if you want to find me on social media, I post for the most part on Facebook because, I'm old and that's what we do. And that is Zeta Owens on Facebook. On Instagram, it is ZMamacita, or it is Bless Your Heart, I'm Talking. And, thanks for joining me again and spending some time with me. And please, everybody, protect your mental health and go buy some fucking paper towels. It'll make you happy for that day at least.